They say women don't remember what you. They remember how you made them. What if I told you that just 3 words when said right will live rent-free in her mind forever? If you're watching this right now, you're probably tired of trying too hard, of doing everything. Be nice. Be available. The guy who texts back fast and still feeling like a ghost. Ignored. Forgotten, left unread. I know what that feels like. I've lived it. Wondering, what am I doing wrong? You've done everything by the book, but something always feels off. There's a reason for that. You've been taught how to talk, but not how to resonate. Been taught how to chase, not how to be chased. The game isn't rigged. Just been playing the wrong one. This video, it's going to flip everything. If this hits home already, comment, I attract, not chase, and make a promise to yourself to listen with your whole heart till the end. But before we dive into the 3 words, understand this. This isn't a trick. It's not some cheap tactic to manipulate someone into liking you. It's about embodying a truth, a principle, a presence. It's about becoming unforgettable, not through force, but through meaning, through energy that stays long after the moment is over. This is about reclaiming your power. Not just in dating, but in how you show up in life. Number 1, you and I. There's a reason why you and I doesn't just sound different, it feels different. These words don't belong to the world of tricks or tactics. They belong to something far older. The power of suggestion, the way language can slip past logic and stir something deeper. And yet most men don't see it. Think influence is loud, complex, and requires approval. But there is no approval in confidence. There is no begging in presence. You and I works not because it's clever, but because it builds a frame, a window into a shared future, a picture she wasn't expecting, but suddenly can't stop looking at. If you use these words with intent, with tone, and with timing, you create something most men never will. Real estate. You and I would make one hell of a team if we ever stopped pretending otherwise. That line doesn't just hint at chemistry. It implies a shared unspoken truth. Now she's not just thinking about how she feels. She's wondering how long you felt it too. That's how you use words to stay with someone. Not in their ears, but in their decisions. You and I should never be unsupervised, light-hearted, suggestive. But in her mind, it paints laughter, tension moments. She's now in a scene you created. That's the whole point. You're not using you and I to impress her. You're using it to imply a future. So effortlessly that she begins to imagine it. That's how emotion embeds. Through stories, through images, through implications that live beyond logic. A woman might not remember your resume or your routine, but she will remember the emotional movie you played in her mind. And you and I is your remote control. It's a phrase that doesn't chase. It leads. It doesn't seek validation. It assumes it. And the man who can say it, not as a line, but as a truth, is a mark. It's in the tone. It's in the way you pause before saying it. You could spend 1,000 hours learning what to text and still get left unread. Or you could learn to speak like a man who sees himself as a prize. And then every sentence you drop becomes a doorway, not into neediness, but into curiosity. You and I, we'd probably argue all the but God, we'd enjoy every minute. But that isn't just humor. That's a line that creates tension, chemistry, opposites colliding. She hears it and thinks, what would that actually be? Like, she's picturing conversations, friction, laughter. She's imagining. And that's how attraction grows in imagination. You and I should never be allowed in the same city without causing trouble. It's humorous, yes, but it implies a shared journey, a rebel energy, something that makes her wonder what it would feel like to actually be around you longer than a moment. And Wonder is the first door to obsession. But these words only work when they're built on something real. You can't say, you and I, if you've been trying to force interest or chasing validation. The phrase becomes powerful only when she already senses something unique about. That's the part most men miss. Try to copy the delivery without becoming the man who means it. The truth is, you say you and I not to start something but to anchor what already exists. This is why internal discipline matters. If your words are empty, they will evaporate. But if your life has structure, if your habits show purpose, if your silence carries weight, then your words will feel earned. And when a woman feels like she has to earn your presence, she will value every word that follows. That's what you and I becomes a reward. Not for her attention, but for the connection you allowed. The reason it lands so deeply is that it's indirect. It's not asking. It's not pushing. It's offering a preview of a possible future, a vision she can step into. That's where most men fail. They ask women to feel something they haven't created space for. But you and I is space itself. It opens the mind, and if spoken at the right moment, it creates a new emotional file in her brain titled you. You must understand something universal. Women don't obsess over what they understand. They obsess over what they can feel but not explain. You and I slides past logic. It's not about convincing. It's about letting her feel the heat of a scene you never fully describe. That's what makes it so addictive. If you've ever had a woman say, I can't explain it, there's just something about congratulations. That's the effect. And it starts with a few words, spoken with intention. Use it wisely. You and I, we've got unfinished business. A phrase like that brings back a memory, hints at unresolved tension. Even if no story existed before, you just created one. Her mind starts to fill in the blanks. Did you miss a chance before? There's a story behind the stare you just gave her, and now without asking for it, she's invested? That's what great dialogue does. It makes her write the next line in her head. You don't hand her the story. You show her the first. And when she sees it clearly enough, she wants more. That's the art of influence. Every man trying to be memorable should know this. Your goal isn't to be impressive. Your goal is to be felt, to leave behind a residue that lingers. And you and I is residue if you say it right. Not quickly, not when you're unsure, but when the energy is undeniable and your confidence is calm. When your tone is low, when your eyes don't flinch, when your words have rhythm, not desperation, that's when she listens. That's when she remembers. Number 2, mystery is everything. Isn't drawn to what she understands. She's drawn to what she can't quite define. And most men kill mystery before the first date even begins. To explain, overshare, and unpack every detail like it's a resume. But here's the truth. The less she knows about you, the more she thinks about you. Because the mind hates blanks. It fills them in. And if you've mastered your presence, the picture she paints in her head is 10 times more captivating than the truth. That's why mystery matters. It isn't it's the most ancient form of gravity. It's the space between answers. It's the pause before a kiss. The words that trigger this effect aren't about identity. They're about initiation. They signal something rare, something different. And those 3 words are figure me out. Not spoken directly, but in energy, in behavior, in controlled gaps of silence. Mysteries, not the absence of information. It's the presence of tension. When you leave it detail out, when you hold back from revealing everything, when you drop a sentence like, I'll tell you later. It's more fun when you figure me out. You're not being difficult. You're being unforgettable. Because people remember what they couldn't solve. They remember questions more than answers. She's not attracted to your facts. She's pulled into your unknowns. Imagine you're sitting across from her and instead of explaining what you do or where you went to school, you say, "That's a story for another time." Now you've planted something, a thread, something that doesn't close, and it nags at her mind. When you're gone, that's how you own space without saying a word. You become a question mark with a pulse, a sentence that was never finished, a door that's slightly open. Men who talk too much destroy this tension. They answer questions that were never asked. They flood space with data instead of magnetism. Figure me out is the frame, and everything else becomes selective. Revelation. Tell her about the scar, but not how you got it. Tell her you moved cities, but not why. Say, some things are better found than told. Every time you say less than expected, you build value because silence isn't absence. It's suspense. And if she's leaning in, wondering what you're not saying, that's power. Mystery isn't detachment. It's a design. It's structure with gaps. Interesting man knows how to craft. Presents by withholding just enough to stir interest without frustration. You say, "Figure me out." You're not giving her a puzzle. You're giving her the thrill of chasing meaning. And most people, especially women, fall hardest. Not for what they were given, but for what they had to discover. Let that sink. Let her find you in layers. With purpose, but leave doors closed. And when you drop a hint, make sure it leads somewhere emotional, informational. Figure me out doesn't mean being difficult. It means being deep. It means saying things like, "I don't talk about that on first dates," with a look that suggests not pain but meaning. Or when she asks why you stopped replying for a few hours, don't explain. Just say, "Was writing something that mattered." Then leave it at that. If she asks what you're thinking, tell her. You'll know when you need to. Not dismissively, not coldly, but like a man who carries his thoughts like sacred currency. Mystery doesn't mean disappearing. It means being the man she's constantly trying to decipher. The one she thinks about hours after you leave. The man whose stories have just enough missing to keep her awake at night. You don't just answer with data. You answer with feeling. If she asks what kind of person you are, don't list adjectives. Say, "Depends." Who's asking? Say, "Some days I'm chaos. Some days I'm clarity." Say, "I've never been one thing long enough to describe it." These aren't lines. They're layers. There is a place between being distant and being overwhelming. And that space, that's your throne. You sit in it by saying less and meaning more. Mystery isn't being cold. It's being vivid without being obvious. You let her see the shape of you, but never the full design. That's what figure me out means. It's an invitation, not a test. Number 3, direct, not dominant. There's a notion of difference between dominance and direction. And most men sink because they try to control what they should be leading. Being direct is not barking orders. It's not over-explaining your masculinity or pushing her to react. It's clarity without pressure. Action without the need for applause. And in this age of endless games and blurred lines, directness is rebellion. Here are 3 words that carry more influence than a paragraph of persuasion. I want this. Speak that in the right tone at the right time, and it doesn't sound like control. It feels like calm leadership. And that's rare. Every time a man says, "I want this," with certainty, he reveals not just his decision but his self-rust. Self-rust is what most women are scanning for beneath every conversation. I want this isn't arrogance. Direction. It's knowing what you will and will not tolerate. I want this, but not at the cost of who I am. That line, it draws a boundary and offers a vision. And that combination is, she hears it and realizes you're not trying to adapt to her whims. You're showing her who you already are. Being Direct with desire doesn't mean laying it all out in desperation. It means you're not afraid of your own truth. Want this connection, but I won't chase. She feels the energy behind those words. That you're intentional but not needy. That you lead without needing to. Women are drawn to men who move with clarity, not chaos. I want this experience to feel real, not rush. That's how you anchor presence. That's how you lead a moment into depth. Don't just say it, live it. If you say, I want this, and your life doesn't reflect that same decisiveness, that words collapse. This is why so many feel they mimic language, but they haven't earned it. Your habits must back your mouth. Your choices must echo your clarity. You want her to believe you. Congruent. That's where power lives. The more you align your speech with your walk, the more impact each word will carry. I want this peace more than validation. Say that to yourself. Then say it to the world in your energy. Because the moment a man stops trying to dominate and starts directing with calm certainty, becomes undeniable. It's in how you take the lead without asking permission. It's in how you offer structure without needing control. Want this moment to be honest, even if it's not perfect. That's leadership in a sentence. You're not trying to impress her. You're anchoring her in a shared truth. That the connection matters more than image. That presence matters more than performance. Every interaction is a mirror to your internal standard. If your words are scattered, if your actions are unsure, if your rhythm is reactive, you will not be remembered. But when you speak with sharpness, not volume, with certainty, not pushiness, your words stay. Women are exhausted by men who say too much and mean too little. So say what you want, but say it like it's already true, because belief precedes attraction. I want this and I'm not afraid to lose it if it's not aligned. This real power. That's stillness speaking. Direct. Men move like they know what they'll walk away from. They're not attached to. They're loyal to truth. I want this time to matter, not just exist. That's how you take a fleeting moment and give it density. That's how she starts to see your words not just as conversation, but as architecture, something to build on. And when she feels that your clarity isn't aimed at getting something from her, but bringing her into something real, you become unforgettable. So stop trying to be aggressive. Articulate. Be exact. Lead with your choices. Walk like a decision. Like a man who's tasted silence and still chooses clarity. I want this is not just a phrase. It's a declaration of who you are. And if you own it fully, the world and the women in it will respond. Number 4, timing is sacred. Say the right words at the wrong time, and you might as well have said nothing. That's the cruel truth about attraction, connection, and the psychology of tension. Timing isn't part of the it is the game. And every man who tries to speak before he's felt the moment, every man who blurts out truth before the space is ready to hold it, ends up misunderstood, ignored, or, worse, dismissed.